welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a video all about perfumes of the 90s that are still available today. I'm doing a whole series about perfumes from different decades and ones that you can still get today, and hopefully this will take you down memory lane a little bit if you remember the 90s. And you know, perfume is such a powerful thing. A smell can transport you back to a moment in time, so hopefully you'll be reminiscing about the 90s during this video. If you're new here, then welcome to my channel. It's all about perfumes, so do subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to have you here, and check out my hundreds of other perfume review videos. So the 90s and the rise of the supermodel and girl power that happened was a really positive influence, I think, on the perfume industry. We saw more and more being released, and the branding and the marketing got cooler and cooler. So first up, I'm going to start off with Jean Paul Gaultier's Classique. This, of course, is the famous perfume with the shape of a woman's sort of torso outline as the bottle. Very, very different. Nothing else really had been like this, and it's quite a sexy vanilla smell. I think bringing this out was quite bold, quite sexy, and it drew a lot of attention. And now, 30 years almost later, people are still buying and wearing this perfume. It still sells quite well, I think. So many flankers have come out, but back in 1993, I think this caused a little bit of the stir and became so well known. For me, definitely one of the most iconic perfumes of the 90s. In 1995, Armani released Acqua di Gio, I can never pronounce this. The men's, of course, and then this was the women's launch. Now, nowadays they have changed the bottle here, and they have changed the smell slightly, but essentially what this is a very fresh, oceanic, watery smell. It has fresh peonies in, it has green notes, it has watery notes, so it feels very uplifting and fresh. The reformulated new bottle version, I think, is still really nice, and the flankers that go with it, they have a yellow one, a pink one. They're all really nice and fresh if you want something very simple, clean and fresh. But this was perhaps one of the first perfumes that really went for this oceanic vibe, this watery vibe, and so it really stood out and was well remembered. This became a bit of a theme in the 90s, I think. So next on my list is Davidoff's Cool Water. This, again, was very fresh with lemony citrus notes in. It had lotus flower in, which is very sort of oceanic, fresh smell. It also had melon, water lily, so very, very tropical, fresh. I really like this. You know, it's a shame that perhaps it's a little bit dated now. I think if this smell came out in another type of marketing, it could be really successful because it is very fresh, and of course you can still get this now at quite good prices, I think. So Estee Lauder released Pleasures in 95. Now this was a little bit of a change from Estee Lauder, as so many of their perfumes have been quite heavy until this point. This was a lighter floral, lily of the valley, rose, jasmine, green notes, much more like a fresh garden, lots of flowers in the garden, whereas perhaps they had stuck towards more oriental or aromatic notes in the past. This was that first leap into a bouquet of flowers, and ever since then Pleasures has had so many versions, so many flankers, but the original, I think, is still the best seller. Elizabeth Arden also released Sunflowers. This incredibly affordable, I think they're like £5, less than £10, the perfumes. Fresh, uplifting. This had melon in again, popular fragrance note in the 90s, melon. But it also was a bit tropical with some sort of peachy and orangey notes in there. So very sort of uplifting, carefree, the kind of thing that you didn't feel bad spraying loads of. And again, a big departure from perfumes in the 80s, which were very heavy. No 90s perfume list would be complete without, of course, Calvin Klein's CK1, the famous unisex gender neutral fragrance. This fresh, uplifting, lemons, bergamot, green notes again. So continuing this theme we see from the 90s of very fresh perfumes, really got people excited, I think, because it was for men and women and everyone could sort of wear it and make it their own. And Calvin Klein, of course, very big name in the 90s, very fashionable. I'm sure Kate Moss did the campaign for this maybe, and yeah, very cool. And I think still something that is quite cool to have. So 1999, just squeezing into the 90s there, we have Gucci Rush, the red block, like a red Lego block perfume, very different, very unusual. This is one of those perfumes that really takes you back, and it hasn't really been replaced by Gucci. And I wish they still like promoted this and had this as more of a feature. It's quite hard to get hold of now, but it's actually such an iconic, cool perfume. It's basically like a peach and patchouli, but there's something weird about it, like something slightly musky, like a musky peach. It lingers on your clothes, almost like Play-Doh smell, synthetic smell, but it's really cool and interesting. You know, in the 90s, I wouldn't be surprised if like Cher from Clueless, this was the perfume that she wore. You know, so cool, so different, unusual, young, fun, but it lasted, and it was almost like it's like an addictive smell. Very cool. Moschino, of course, was a big name in the 90s, and Cheap and Chic is probably their most famous perfume. This came out in 95, and again, it's a musky floral. Musk mixed with yuzu, bergamot, zesty, but again, it had that unusual smell. The muskiness would kind of stick to you, and it became very much associated with, you know, people that wear Moschino, and very cool scent. And again, still sold today, still has its fans, still going all these years later, and they're iconic bottles. They've made so many in this style now, but Cheap and Chic, I mean, such a different name for a perfume as well, like calling it cheap, but very cool, very, very trendy 90s. Another super trendy one is Versace's Red Jeans. Again, we see apricot and peach featuring here, peachy notes coming through in the 90s, so fruity but warm, then with musk and florals. So you're starting to see a pattern here of the type of notes that we used in this decade. Just like when I talk about new perfumes today, it's a lot of similar notes. Back then, we're seeing fresh notes, we're seeing peachy notes, we're seeing lily of the valley, those type of white floral. So very much the sense of the 90s, and Versace Red Jeans fits right in there. And then lastly, of course, we have Clinique's Happy, still one of the best-selling perfumes in the world. They have absolutely hit the nail on the head with this. This is super fresh, citrus, lemons, limes, oranges, zesty Granny Smith apple with some floral notes underneath. Again, another one that you can just cover yourself with, quite affordable, and very, very safe, very pretty, very nice. So that's my rundown of 90s perfumes. Let me know what your favorite 90s perfumes were, which were the iconic 90s ones for you, and check out my other videos, which will be coming up around decades and perfumes of other decades as well. But that's it, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.